Good morning, my name is Kirsty Dignam and I'm here to look at the energies this week with today's Monday's Musings on the 16th of September 2024. And I'm doing this now because if I don't, I'm not going to get round to it. This morning, even though it's quite early, I have been inundated with a million reasons why now is not the right time to do this video. And they all come from a place of perfection, of wanting all the answers first, of wanting to know things that are unknowable, of not trusting my connection and who I am and my ability to work with whatever is given at that time, at any time in this moment. I'm not surprised. Wednesday we have a full moon in Pisces, but we also have the sun in Virgo. So we're really being encouraged this week to expand, but apply that to life also. And that can get a bit trippy, particularly if we look at the more shadow aspects of the astrology, the Piscean who may just not want to feel into what needs doing, but would rather stay in the energy of potential or feeling into spiritual connections rather than applying them to life, or dreaming without doing any actions. But then we also have the shadow aspect of Virgo. It needs to be perfect, right? Before we dare to even put ourselves out there, before we dare to even take that first step. And that can lead to a real habit. I was going to say need, but it's not a need, it's a habit. A real habit of overanalyzing or wanting all the facts first, as we recognize that often comes from a place of mistrust, not only in the situation but the people that we are working with and relating to, but mainly ourselves. And when we can acknowledge that this week, there's a compassion that wants to come through, and it's a compassion that actually wants to be at the very base of all that we speak, all that we share, or that we converse with ourselves first and foremost. It's okay to dream. It's okay to question. It's part of the process, but it's all about balance, particularly as we're leading into the equinox. Do our dreams stop us from doing the work? And I'm going to say work. And there's a real emphasis of almost having an avoidance with that. Now, work doesn't mean that it has to be hard, and it doesn't mean that it has to be heavy, and it doesn't mean that it's not fun. But recognizing the work that needs doing doesn't mean that we have to struggle with that. And when we can recognize that, there's almost a release of resistance. The word itself, work, right? It's got some real negative connotations, particularly in a career goal-orientated world. But if we can recognize work for the actions required to deliver our dreams, that takes a whole different perspective. It's okay to rationalize things, particularly if we may not feel 100% secure in our dreams, our ambitions, our emotions, our visions even, provided that rationalization actually supports them and doesn't hold us back. The other day, I've yet to write a blog for the full moon. And there's something in that I will come back to in a moment. But the other day I found myself, I would rather clean my home. And that's that OCD Virgo energy, but actually it felt really valid because I felt at peace then. So keeping that balance in all areas. Why? Because the reason I haven't written the blog is the energy is so expansive. And there's a level of trust there that each step that we take, even if it may not feel like it, is part of the path. So this video itself is bringing things to light that I will share in the blog. And the blog will be linked to the video and vice versa. So recognizing that all these aspects are actually joined up and trusting the process by focusing on what's in front of us. And that's the key. That's what both of these energies need now. That's what brings the balance that we're seeking, focus. What are we actually focusing on? So when our mind is questioning and analysing something, are we focusing on structure needed, or are we focusing on the fact that we don't feel good enough or that situation doesn't feel doable? When we're thinking about our dreams, are we focusing on what we don't have and holding ourselves back from that? Or are we focusing on what we would like and the steps needed to get there? So what energy are we focusing on? Because when we focus, that's like a hidden conversation that we're having with our body and with each other, whether we like it or not, whether we admit it or not. And that's going to be the other key this week. There are going to be some home truths that may be a bit difficult to admit to ourselves, let alone anybody else. And it's going to take some listening in. So this week I'm offering on the Thursday a evening session at 6 o'clock online via Zoom, which you can find on my Facebook page, as part of a potentially ongoing product or process even called Call That Therapy. And listening is one of the greatest forms of therapy. It leads to healing, it leads to the answers that we seek, but it has to start from within. So what are we actually listening to? Where is our focus going from that? Are we listening to the voices that say we can't achieve our dreams? Are we listening to the over-analytical voice that says I need to do this, this and this first? And what is that actually saying to us on a subconscious level? How aligned are we with the words that are coming out of our mouth? One of the things I would find very confusing as a child, which I now recognise as one of my gifts, is someone would say something and I would feel something completely different. And for a long time I would feel as if there was something wrong with me, that I wasn't seeing the fuller picture. But as I've aged, I recognise, myself included, a lot of us say things that we don't actually energetically mean. And this week is a wonderful opportunity to feel into that, to get honest with ourselves. What do we mean? Because only from there can we seek what we need. Only from there can we actually manifest what we want. Only from there can our dreams become physical steps that we can take. There is an emphasis of embodiment there, but it's not just embodiment. I thought initially when I was starting this video it would be embodiment about what we offer to others, but actually that, yes, that's almost like a side effect of the energies this week, but it's more about embodiment of how well we are of service to ourselves. How often do we say to others, do the best that you can, and I can take this on board myself, and then berate ourselves for not doing what we had planned that day? Are we applying the same morals and values that we do for others to where we are and our own process in any situations that we find ourselves? So that being said, I'm going to trust what I'm going to be given. I'm going to focus on the cards because that was the whole point of this video. I'm going to focus on the intention, which is to look at the energies this week with the support of the tarot and how to best navigate them. And actually it feels like the way to do that is to focus on what's actually going on in that moment. So let's do that on a day-to-day basis. It feels quite important to go back to basics. So the deck that I'm using today is the Rider-Waite Tarot, which was the original for me. However, this deck are called the Radiant Rider-Waite Tarot. So it can be fun, it can be light, focusing. Sometimes when we think of focus, we can be reminded of being at school and having to revise exams to really focus and be driven. Absolutely. But that can still be very light and very fun in the fact that it's a higher vibration. To focus is actually a higher vibration if in context to where we're trying to get. If we're focusing because we're doing so from fear or over rationalizing or analyzing or doubt, then yes, focus can be a very heavy vibration. But if we're focusing based on a higher perspective of what's going on and a higher angle of ourself as well, that can be very light, that can be very easy. And that is the potential this week, should we choose to, but we must recognize that focus, work, diligence, commitment, all those words, especially with the Piscean energy, aren't here to limit our options, but streamline them. And it is a much more healed version of the masculine trying to come through. Okay, so give me what you need me to do and I'll get out there and I'll get it done. But being focused on that, because with that comes a huge level of trust that actually it can be simple, that actually it can be easy, that actually if I turn up and do what is asked of me, then yeah, results can happen because, heads up, I'm good enough, we're good enough, this situation is good enough, the vision is good enough, the relationship is good enough, whatever that may be. Whatever it is that you're trying to bring into fruition needs to almost not prove itself to you, but allow an opportunity for it to be seen in its purest form, without all the stories, without all the beliefs and energies around it that may have accumulated over time. So, radiant, let's lighten up, yeah? Let's bring some light to the situation. That's what focusing does. So, energies this week and how to best navigate it by recognizing what it is we need to focus on. I was going to say that's different for us all, but actually I'm being drawn to a picture above my head, and it's a picture of abundance by Jane Delaford Taylor, and it's hummingbirds and butterflies and a hand outreached. It looks like a hand from an ascended master, but one must not assume, yeah? One must not assume that the help that is being offered is from higher vibrational energy this week, and that can leave us in a place of the unknown with the hummingbird. But the secret here is to have joy in the process of transformation, to trust ourselves as the higher energy that is receiving now any messages that may not quite make sense, but that are ultimately leading to an abundance of beauty and joy and wisdom in what we may perceive as a space of the unknown. So much is unknown in our mental mind and in our situation, but actually on a soul level, yeah, if only we knew what we knew. But we must recognize that that almost has to be fed bit by bit. Yeah, we have to almost be titrated with the amount of information coming in this week. Otherwise, we do have those shadow qualities of it all being a bit much. So we go into our mind with the Virgo, and also maybe going to a place where we almost need to shut it off with the Pisces energy, where we may need to just put our heads back into the clouds because it's become a little bit overwhelming. So anything can happen this week. That is actually going to be the song for the blog. I managed to get that this week. And the other thing with the newsletter, if you don't sign up to the newsletter, the emphasis is going to be on the 5 agreements. You know, not to take things personally, to do our best, not to assume, to be aware of any judgments, but also to be skeptical of ourselves as well. Where am I actually acting from here? What is actually going on for me here? Is this even relevant anymore? This video included. Only then will we learn how much we have actually moved on, and only then will we really feel into the known transformation that perhaps we haven't been able to focus or see. Energies this week and how to best navigate them. So trust definitely came up in my solar plexus and in my sacral then. Knowing when enough is enough, and to trust whatever is given. Seeking more information. I see a lot of seeking more information and getting a lot of confirmation of the same thing, which is absolutely, absolutely beautiful. And provided that encourages you to keep going, wonderful. If that starts to make you question, or if it's coming from a real deep-seated questioning of your position, perhaps it's not about seeking answers, but receiving healing or balance or whatever you may need to bring that trust back into yourself. Because we're not quite at the point of moving forward yet. We are aware of the potential that's out there. And with the 2 of Wands here, what we have is the focus must be on our earth. The focus must be on the world that we're trying to create, whether that's individually or collectively. I'm not going to go into it all, but the other day I had a real tiz was. But actually I won't downplay it, a real moment about the situations that we were creating from a place of greed and a place of knowing what we need and whether or not we need it, or we're just trying to fill a hole that we're not willing to actually acknowledge. And that's that Piscean energy. Are we so disconnected from our body, whether that's spiritual healing, well-being, whether that's our job, whether that's our relationships? Have we become so disconnected from our body that we are willing to take whatever we need to fill that gap, and the only way to actually fill that void is to come back into our physical self? Taking a good look at the world that we create. Something as simple as continually seeking answers for something. What that's actually doing, if it's in the shadow aspect, is confirming this inability to trust ourselves. Buying things that we don't need, yeah, is constantly reaffirming that wisdom of our needs never being met. The other day with the scenario in regards to buying food, it was really healthy food and I couldn't actually warrant the prices that they wanted for it. There's a whole post about it, so I won't go into it. But what was important is, one, what we buy into is an individual thing, but also recognizing the impact. I was not prepared to buy into the story that in order to look after ourselves we have to pay against the odds, and I'm still not prepared to do that, whether that's healing, whether that's education, whether that's the food that we eat. There are ways out there, means out there, people out there to help you get what you need, and that is the emphasis this week. But we must look at the world that we see. So we may think, well, actually in order to do X, Y, Z you need loads of money. Boom, limit in front of us. I need to take this on board myself. Actually, in order to have a relationship that sustains me, I need da-di-da-di-da. Boom, a limit. So really looking at, if we want to create these dreams, what are our core beliefs here about the world that we live in, and subsequently the world that we create as a result. So mine is very much being aware of what we create for the world that we live in. Yours could be something completely different, but what's important here is regaining your focus. And there is a temptation there to go off on, as you can see, a tangent, particularly an individual one. So keep bringing it back to where your focus is at. I hear the song, Where's My Head At? Keep bringing it back to your own focus. So my throat is going straight away, and you know, I look at the cards that are in front of us for this week and there does feel like a huge level of confusion looking at the communication that we're having. So straight away my initial knee-jerk reaction is to assume. So those 4 judgments, right? Assume, make it all about confusion, not look into actually what's going on here or be responsible for what's going on for me as I read the cards. So being aware of our flaws, being aware in the most beautiful, compassionate way, being aware of moments when we don't know, pausing, looking completely at what is in front of us. Because on the Monday we have justice collectively, and there's an opportunity here. It is a major arcana, so there's more energy there supporting us than we may realize, but it's an opportunity to take stock, to sit, to weigh things up, to really see where we are, to be true with ourselves, to connect to our own divine wisdom, to witness what is occurring. We don't know all the answers behind us. Yeah, there's a veil here. You can't see what's behind justice in this deck, but it is purple. It is of the violet ray, and sometimes when we can't see, not sometimes, when we can't see everything that's going on, we open the space for the things that we would never have thought of. We may never have contemplated. We get out of our own way and out of the universe's way also. Wisdom is an ongoing growth. Yeah, it's an entity in itself. If we only base wisdom on what we know, the answers we seek, then we're limiting the growth of wisdom, and it becomes knowledge. It becomes what's been handed down to us, and it doesn't actually get to expand into its full potential. The balance on the Monday comes from embracing what we may not know, having equilibrium, harmony within us, to know that that's actually part of it. That's part of who we are. That's part of the process. Enjoying what is in front of us, seeing it for what it is, allowing it to grow. You know, I have a son who's 22, and obviously when he was a child, I would watch him walk or watch him try and walk, but I wouldn't stand in the way and stop him from doing that. He had to learn. Yeah, there were times when I thought he's going to fall over, this is going to happen. And even today, he's driving back from Wales, and there's moments when I think, oh my gosh, this could happen, that could happen. Be mindful of our thoughts, particularly today. Being very aware of where our mental focus is going. Recognizing that we can be our own karma by believing in the notion of karma and looking at how, I'm not saying do or don't, I'm just saying look at how we perceive something like karma. If I do this, this is going to happen. Is that empowering or is it limiting? Is there justice in that view anymore? Only you can decide. On the Tuesday, that is going to call us out because we have the second major arcana, which is judgment. And I feel quite tired here. I feel almost like, just hand it over. I just don't know. And that's okay. So on the Tuesday, hand it over. Hand it over, and whatever you receive, allow that to help you rise. But if we're going to hand things over, there's no good saying, I trust, but actually I don't. I'm handing it over, but I'm figuring it all out myself. That looking at the authenticity of what we do or what we claim we are doing on the Tuesday. And for me personally, there's no judgment there, but actually we may find that we are judging ourselves subconsciously. So we may say, I trust myself to do X, Y, and Z, but actually question it the whole way through. And the questioning is a normal part of the process, but if it's questioning to the point where it's stopping you from doing it to your best ability or potential, then you're holding yourself back, and that's based on a judgment of your own on yourself and the support that you have. So really, really looking into that Tuesday, really going quite deep into what may be calling you to go beyond your own judgments of yourself and the situation on the Tuesday. Now on the Wednesday, Seven of Cups. On the Wednesday, we have a real endurance with our own intuitive psychic wisdom. And it isn't a major arcana, so it is a minor, so it is a man-made energy here. And it's, do we trust our healing? Do we trust our connection? Do we trust our ability to manifest what we need? Pisces full moon, right, on the Wednesday. So we're really going to have that quite emphasized. And I think, if I remember rightly, it's a partial eclipse as well. So there are going to be shadow aspects coming up. There are going to be moments when we don't know, and boy is the veil thin. I don't know about anyone else, but I'm already dreaming of ancestors and people that have passed, and the dreams have got wacky, and we're not even in October yet. The veil is thinning, and this is almost like a trial run, not only for Halloween or those kind of energies, but also for the 1010 portal, also for the, from now until February, the eclipse season. This is like a trial run for it all. So yes, there are going to be moments when you don't know. That's okay. It's a trial run. This is an opportunity to figure things out and to see that, not to berate ourselves for not knowing, but to pause and go, I don't know, so perhaps show me. Because what happens there is our intuitive relationship is developed. Intuition, yes, it's our inner tuition, but it is based on what we see externally, how something makes us feel. What's that about? What are we connected to? What is the world we're creating? Da, 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 da. But we must come at that from a place of not knowing, of being open and expansive, because if we know everything, if there's nothing to figure out and we have all the answers, then why haven't we got where we want to go? It's part of the process, it's part of the balance. And on the Thursday, we're going to feel that with the Two of Pentacles. This is what I do know. This is what I'm doing about it. And then this helps me with what I don't know, as I'm guided what to then do about that. So it's not about focusing on what we don't have, what we don't know, all the things that we can't shift or change right now. It's about focusing on what we do know, what we have almost survived, actually. Not the survival itself, but what we have gained in the process. And I keep saying the word process, and this week does feel like that, even though it's a Pisces full moon, or actually especially because it's a Pisces full moon. We get very caught up in assumptions of energy, and Pisces can be, you know, we can assume that it's very head in the clouds, not getting anything done, but actually it's the last sign in the zodiac, right? It's the most, apparently the most psychic, intuitive sign that there is. It is the last one in the zodiac, so it's kind of been there, done that, okay? So recognizing this is a process, recognizing actually the things that we have survived that we can now take forward, keeping that balance for our own completion and our own awareness. It's not about, especially on the Thursday, proving ourselves to anybody but ourselves. Yeah, it's like we can seek that confirmation, but are we seeking confirmation and then getting the answers and thinking, yeah, that's what so-and-so said, or that's what I thought about this and this, or are we seeking the confirmation and thinking, I knew that, and then really bringing that in to complete the cycle. On the Friday, it's the Queen of Cups, so we've taken all of this wisdom, all of this feeling as if we don't know, all of this witnessing the situation, all of this awareness of our own judgments, our own doubts, our own fears, And we move forward with the Queen of Cups by nurturing all of that. Okay, so I've discovered this. So I may not quite be where I want to be, or I may be where I want to be, and I want to be somewhere different. Whatever we have claimed this week as our existence, as our reality, flowing with that, nurturing that. On the Friday, be aware of the feeling of wanting to add more. Be aware of the sensation of it not being enough. It is linked to the mother. It is linked to the earth. It is linked to our relationship with our mother, but also linked to our ability to nurture ourselves based on where we are. We can be aware of our potential, or someone else's, or the situation. It doesn't mean it will be reached. That's always a choice. And the most nurturing thing we can do is allow things to play themselves out on the Friday, our own stuff included. Back to basics. What do I need while I'm going through this? I want to say hissy fit, so watch out for that on the Friday. What do I need while I'm going through this process? What's the most loving thing I can do here? What's the most nurturing thing I can do here? On the Saturday, we have our next major arcana, which is the Sun card. Enjoy it. For the love of whatever, if you're going to do anything, enjoy it. Laugh at yourself. We do not know all the answers, and that is a freedom. That is a freedom. It can really be seen as an inconvenience or as a freedom to create with the unknown, to be a child of the universe, and I really feel as if I can't stop smiling on the Saturday, to release the expectations of what it is to live this life and actually bloody live it. Okay. on the Saturday in particular, to really have that open-hearted, joyful innocence of the situation. On the Sunday, that could cause almost some confusion if we choose to revert back to trying to figure out the answers, because we have the Seven of Wands. So it's like there's still that need to defend things. And if you feel that on the Sunday, okay. There is a lot of inner child stuff here on the Friday, Saturday, Sunday in relation to how we nurture our childlike energy. Are we doing it from a place of open-heartedness, or are we doing it from a place of protection? And that may be necessary. We may need to protect our light over the weekend. So really feeling into what is right for you at that time. But in the Seven of Wands, this time it doesn't look like they're defending quite aggressively. It just looks like it's the done thing. Like, actually, this is my growth and I'm going to defend it as much as I need to. So let's bring it back to what we actually need to focus on the Monday. And that feels quite important, to see what is going on, to feel everything that is going on, to be, we can be so aware of things. And what are we actually being encouraged to focus on this week? That is the key. If you take nothing from this reading but that, what are you being encouraged to focus on? So on the Monday, it is justice, it is balance, it's authenticity, it's about weighing up our options, by witnessing the situation, by knowing that the stuff that we don't know is what's actually going to come through and transform certain aspects now. But all we need to do is take stock, to sit with resolve where we are, and to remain connected to our truth on the Monday. On the Tuesday, focusing on things that are going to call us out. The Judgment card is very much here a higher energy. Is it helping us to rise, to grow, to step into our power? Or is it a judgment that's making us feel small, wanting to go back to how things were, or really sucking the life out of us? On the Tuesday, it is down to us to focus on whether it's a judgment or a value that we are going to take forward. On the Wednesday, focusing on what we do know. Focusing on the power of the unknown, but not getting lost down any rabbit holes on the Wednesday, focusing on what we do know and what's in front of us. A lot of shadow stuff on the Wednesday is going to come to light, so allowing that to come through, perhaps to bring forth what we don't know. On the Thursday, balance is key, and it is balance with the physical body. It is balance also with our emotions, and it is balance in recognizing what we give out, we're going to get back. On the Thursday, really looking at that connection, and that's not from a place of fear unless you choose to focus on that. So what is your focus behind balance, behind this infinite flow with you and the universe? What are you actually focusing on? On the Friday, we're being encouraged to nurture our hearts, to nurture the situation, to nurture our emotions, to really connect to the wisdom of compassion. On the Saturday, have some fun. Have some fun, because it looks like on the Sunday things may lead into something else next week. So on the Saturday, lighten that up. Just lighten up. Open your heart. Connect to your inner child. Do something that brings you that joy. On the Sunday, you can choose to defend something, or you can choose to walk away. Again, the emphasis being choice. Let that be your focus on the Sunday. Overall, again, I can't say it enough, the focus is on the world and the world that you are creating, whether that's in your lounge and your family, whether that's globally, whether that's on the stage of life itself. What are you creating? What is your focus? Because only then, when you figure out your focus, can you actually identify your intentions, can you actually find the information that you require to put the steps in place to achieve them. That's enough. Sending you lots of love, and I will see you next week. Take care.